Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting live stream with the Port St. Lucie Business Club. We're going to give it a minute and make sure that everyone can see and hear us. If you can see and hear us, please go ahead and post a comment so that we can make sure that everything is working. We're using a new platform for this. So for anyone interested in doing live streams, we were using a platform called Restream. Now we're using a platform called Riverside, which is more of an all-in-one platform. It's good for podcasting, live streaming. So just giving that recommendation out there. If you want to check out a tool like this, if you like that type of software stuff, you could check out riverside.fm. Looks like it's working. We see we got Christina, we have Danny, and we have Alex. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So let's get to the main attraction here, what we have going on today. This is an exciting edition of the live stream because we're going to be talking about a topic that comes up a lot, and it's branding. So we're going to get into what is branding, the differences between the logos, branding, style guides, what your business card should look like, what your website should look like. We're going to answer your questions. So why don't I start off by introducing our guest. We have Lexy Rubin. Lexy, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. So
Yes.
Lexy is the owner of Rubin Design. And Lexy has a lot of experience in designing and branding. You have over 15 years of experience helping brands connect with their audience. And Lexy has worked with some really big, well-known brands like Avon, Colgate, Dannon, Bath and Body Works. She has a BFA in graphic design from Rhode Island School of Design. And Rubin Design offers all different types of branding services, including helping you with your direct marketing through web design, branding, and just so much more. So Lexy, thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend some time with us and with our audience and to answer these questions. Can you tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what you do at Rubin Design?
Yeah, thank you again for having me, Nick. So I grew up in Florida and I left and went to Rhode Island School of Design, which back then was the top art school of the country. And that for me just was like a game changer for me to be studying there. And I felt like I grew a really strong foundation there, studying graphic design because they didn't teach you how to do branding. Like they didn't teach you really how to design logos or how to design a package. It was more about like making meaning behind your work. So you could go out and get sticks and like make an umbrella out of it and say, this is my logo. Like it was just all about like the concepts behind the work. And I feel like that has really been a game changer for me in terms of how I've grown in my career because the concepts, when you're making something, especially in branding, that's very original, it speaks volumes compared to just something that is done with the skill set you have.
For
You know
sure.
what I mean?
And
Yeah.
what made you want to get into this field?
I have a fine arts background, so I love drawing. Behind me, these are some of my drawings back here. And I remember learning about graphic design when I started. It was pretty new, it hadn't really exploded yet. And I remember hearing, like, I was looking at some posters that somebody did, and there was illustration in the posters. And I was like, oh, so you can include illustration and then put some fonts over it. And that's what graphic design is. And I was a bit naive back then. And I was just like, so happy go lucky. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. If I can make a living, I guess I'll do that. I'll give that a try. So I kind of just like fell into it like naively, and then
Yep.
I ended up really loving it. And I think my love for graphic design and branding really came from my first job. And I worked at a big design agency after college in New York City called Beardwood and Co.
Hmm.
And that was I was there for 5 years, and there was like no hand holding. Like they were, I had no package design experience, and like that agency in New York City does a lot of branding and packaging for like Dannon, Avon, Bath and Body Works was a big one I was
Hmm.
working on. I remember like sitting in the with the marketing team at Colgate Palmolive, and we were talking about the latest toothpaste we were going to design the packaging for. And being in my like mid 20s, it was just a whole new experience for me. So
Interesting. So
Yeah.
obviously, branding can mean so many different things. There's so many aspects to it. A lot of times we tend to simplify it and think of branding as just a logo. And I know
Mhm.
that's not the correct answer of what is branding. So I guess why don't we start there? How do you define branding?
Yeah, so branding is essentially the way your customers think and feel about you as a business. Like that really distills it down. Like I think a lot of people think of branding as like the business name or yeah, just the logo like you said, but it's really those are all like naming is really important. Your logo is really important. The colors you're using in your branding is really important.
Hmm.
But those are all tools that drive you to that end result. And that end result is really the result of your customer in the way they perceive you and feel about you as a business. And believe it or not, like, you know, when I attend these networking groups here in Stewart and Port St. Lucie, and I'm meeting, you know, amazing business owners here, I don't think people realize, but like they are a brand. Like the way you are, what you're wearing, and the way
Hmm.
you carry yourself and how you are with people, like that is part of your brand because you're giving an impression of you to somebody else to see if maybe you'd want to connect and do business together, you know, right? So that's really what branding is. It's like getting customers to perceive you, and there's a lot of ways you can do that in branding.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to get into some of those. And we also want to answer the questions that come up. So let's welcome some of the folks that are joining us. I see we have Philip, we have Teresa, we have Christina, Veronique. Sorry if I'm butchering any of the names here. We got Miguel. Welcome. If anyone has a question about anything related to branding, logo design, graphic design, anything that we can help you learn in this live stream, we're going to have about 30 minutes of discussion here. We want to incorporate your questions, so feel free to put them in the chat. But yeah, to kick things off with another question, what do small businesses in particular need to
Mm-hmm.
know about branding? Because obviously you've worked with a lot of huge brands, but you've also worked with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of small businesses as well.
Yeah.
Small businesses don't always have the same budget as
Right.
even mid-sized businesses, but yet it's still important to have a nice, clean, consistent brand. So, what would you tell a small business owner out there that maybe hasn't invested in their brand? What should they be thinking about?
I would definitely, that's a great question, Nick. I would definitely start with your building out your brand identity. Your brand identity is going to be what lives on your business cards. So think about like what piece of material are you using to drum up business, right? Like what are you trying to do to get customers to interact with you and do business with you? So most of the time for a small business owner, even like I'm a business owner myself, and I actually just rebranded my business, and I think business cards are a really powerful tool because when you're going out into the community and meeting people, you know, everyone's always passing out their cards. So if you have a really well thought out and designed logo that is going to speak to your business, like it's going to represent your business values, it's going to be appropriate for the industry you're in, and it's really going to connect with your customers that you want to be doing business with. I would start out with a really clean logo, a really nice set of fonts that can be used on your business card, and a color, like a suite of colors. We
Hmm,
call that a color palette.
I like
And
that.
if you
Yeah.
get, yeah, and if you get all of those things put together and on a really nice business card, I also think when you're getting your business cards printed, spend a little extra money on the print quality because I've done that for myself. And I can tell you, it's like every time I've passed out my
Hmm.
cards at these networking events, people immediately are like, oh, wow, your card feels so nice. And oh,
Yeah.
I love the foil on it. And that leaves a lasting impression compared to maybe other people who just had a very basic business
Yeah.
card,
And the
right? So
card stock too,
that's,
because you can
mm-hmm.
get card stock of all different thicknesses. I know Danny knows this because
Yes.
I just, I got recently I got some business cards made and they're on a very thick card stock. And it makes such a different impression when you're giving out a card that is on a nice, good cardstock rather than the little flimsy cards that we all have from something like
Mm-hmm.
Vistaprint or Canva.
Yeah, it's like if you think of your business card as like a cookie,
Hmm.
and if a lot of people were passing out Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies, and then you brought out like the mega home baked warm cookie, that's really nice. People are gonna go. People are gonna remember your, homemade big
Right. Yep.
decadent cookie. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah. Looks like we have a question from Christina. Christina asks, "What makes a logo stand out?"
Oh, that's a great question. So, what makes a logo stand out? It The way I think of it is that less is more. So, the font that you're using in the logo should really do the heavy lifting for the logo and keep it really simple. Like if you think of the FedEx logo,
Hmm.
next time a FedEx truck drives by, look at the words. It's just very bold, modern words, FedEx. But if you look inside the negative space of like the E and the X, you can see an arrow.
Hmm.
And I think logos like that are just so well done. So I think the font that you're using can do a lot to say what you want to say in the logo itself, and the color. And then if you can add an icon in there, do it subtly. I see a lot of logos that rely heavily on the icon and they try to like
Hmm.
fit this iconic thing in with the font, and it usually cheapens the logo. So I think less is more. Like this, the more simple you can be, allowing the font that you're using to really say what you want to say, the better.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
definitely one of your specialties, in my opinion. From the work I've
Yeah.
seen that you've done, the typography, the font
Mhm.
selection, custom font choices,
Mhm.
it's something that I'll admit I've sort of overlooked a lot of times, and I've focused more on the icon when designing logos or
Mhm.
when working with someone to design logos in the past. But I think something you've taught me is you really do want to have that balance there between the typography that you're using and
Mhm.
the icon, and you want to keep it simple. What about yeah? What are some mistakes you see people making with logos?
Yeah, I think the icon is great too, because I'm not
Hmm.
saying like don't use it. I just think the icon can be either something that lives above the font that you're using for your logo, or it can be like applied elsewhere. So again, like some mistakes I've seen is usually it's the font choice that they're using, because this is something that a lot of people might not know of, but there are typography designers that are different from graphic designers. And typography designers are essentially graphic designers that all they do is design the alphabet, and they make like the whole alphabet look like a certain style. And then there are thousands of typefaces out there. So I think in terms of being a graphic designer, the more you search and really have a passion and love for typography, the better you're going to get at making logos, because
Yeah,
you're going to be able to know like where to look, and what really kind of resonates with the goals that you have for that business you're working with.
absolutely. We have a
Yeah.
question from Veronique. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. The question is, what about photos? And I believe this was when you were discussing all the different parts of what goes into branding.
Hmm.
Yeah, where do photos fit into the whole branding discussion?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Photos definitely fit into the branding, and it depends on the style of the photo. So it's the photos are really driven by the style. So you can have like if you think of wedding photographers, you have some photographers that are like more moody with like a darker style, capturing the same thing, a wedding, and then you have photographers that are like more bright and light with their pictures and more modern looking. So depending on what you're trying to say in the branding. So like let's say you're a business that, like, let's say your values are all about being authentic and having this heritage, like celebrating maybe the story of where you're from. Like maybe your business is family owned and it's been around for a long time. then looking modern, like super sleek and modern, might not be the right feel you want to go for. You're probably going to want to do something that celebrates that heritage,
Hmm.
because that's what customers are going to want to feel from your business, right? To gain customers and grow. So the photography style you're using should maybe have more of that warmth, and that cozy feel in the photos. And, the font that we're using should maybe have a little bit more of a vintage quality to it. And, we can incorporate illustrations. Engraving and like woodcut illustrations are very popular right now.
Hmm.
I use that a lot in my work, especially when it comes to like liquor brands or food brands. I use that a lot. So it's really kind of depending on what you're trying to say, and the brand is going to define the visuals. It's going to create that whole visual aesthetic, so that when customers come across your business and interact with your brand, whether it's seeing a photo on your website, to your business card, to the billboard on the street, to your social media content, everything should be consistent in terms of the styling.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
two more questions here that came in, and they're kind of related. So why don't we tackle them together? And these are interesting questions because 15 years ago, these questions probably wouldn't have made sense. And it just goes to show that things are changing so quickly with design and with
Yes.
marketing. We have to always keep up. So the first question is from Miguel. He asks, what about a digital card? And the second
Hmm.
question is
Mhm.
from Theresa. And Theresa's asking about QR codes. Do you recommend them or not? So, digital cards and QR codes, where do those fit in with branding and business cards?
Yes, these are really great questions. So I love the QR code because it's just easy to scan it and get information quickly, just as much as I love the digital card. So I recommend to business owners that you get the digital card and you get a physical business card. And if you like the QR code, put it on your card. I think I often see a lot of business cards that are too cluttered and there's too
Hmm.
much information on it. And my motto is less is more, because our eye is naturally trained to read information if there's not too much stuff. Like if there's too much stuff there, our eye is going to glance and just kind of ignore
Right.
things. So if
Yep.
you just have
Cognitive
it
load.
very
There's too much going on, so we tend to just ignore all of it.
overstimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you keep things really simple on your business card, and if you need to put the QR code there, put the QR code there. I think that's a great way to get some information out. And I think the digital card is a great way too. I wouldn't just use the digital card though, because yes, you're getting your information quickly onto somebody's phone when you meet them, but they still don't go home with that physical
Yeah.
piece. So they could still easily forget about you, even though, because everyone's meeting a bunch of people there. So giving them that physical business card too is going to help people remember you.
I agree with that. And I thought
Mhm.
digital cards were all you needed. And when I started getting back into the networking scene last year, I just had my digital Popple card. And I
Yeah.
quickly realized for a few very important reasons, you can't just have a digital card. One, if you're going to networking events, most of them will have like a door prize raffle or some type of put your card
Mhm.
in the bucket to get something. So you're going to miss out on that if you just have a digital card.
Yeah. That's
Two,
true.
with a lot of these digital cards, I know they're changing this now, but a lot of them, if you scan it, it doesn't save it, right? So people will scan it, they'll see the contact information, but if they don't take a few extra seconds to actually save it to their
Mhm.
device, it's gone. And then three, just
Yeah,
like you
no.
mentioned, there's not
Yeah.
that reminder to follow up because it's just a digital, thing that they're gonna probably not remember. So you want to have that physical card. So I would definitely recommend that everyone have both the digital and the physical cards.
And I think too, after attending a networking event, I mean, I do this myself. I go through my stack of cards
Yep.
and I reach out to people, and it's kind of like a habit. And I don't know if that's for everybody, but so I wouldn't lose the physical business card. I think it is really important.
Yeah. We have a
Yeah.
question from Philip. He says, should all my ads be the same color schemes, or can I use different color schemes for each ad as long as the logo is consistent? Any input on that?
That's a great question. You always want to keep your color scheme the same. But let's talk about, I'd like to shed a little light on colors
Yeah.
because color is really important with branding and building your brand identity. So when I'm designing a brand identity for a business, I will have a series of colors. I will have primary or like dominant colors, which could be anywhere from like 4 or 5 colors. And then I will have secondary colors, which could be like 2 or 3. And then I'll have accent colors. And the accent colors appear like more minimally in the branding. So you want to have enough colors in your branding that you can use to kind of create that feeling that you want to get across. Like for example, with a business card, I like to use on one side of the business card a really pop color, like something that's very contrasting. And then on the other side of the card, I usually keep it pretty light so that way people can read my information. But that's still, those two colors are still part of the color palette suite. And then when you are putting out your social media content or doing ads, you're going to have a range of like 10 colors or 8 colors you can pick from your collection, but they always should stay the same. This way you're building on that recognition of
The
your brand,
consistency.
the
Yeah, and I agree with
consistency.
that because one thing that we've done with the Port St. Lucie Business Club from the very early days is pick a color and stick with it. And now it's working because we've gotten to a point where people will say, "Oh, you know, you're the all those purple ads or all those purple
Yep.
posts,
Yeah,
you know, or the purple
exactly.
shirts." So we're sort of
Uh-huh.
becoming associated with this color, and it was very much intentional. We wanted to pick a color and just stick with it so that it becomes memorable. But one thing I will add is that I believe, Philip, you mentioned advertising. With advertising, this is not necessarily tied to the color, but just from personal experience, having run a lot of Facebook ads and Google ads, but especially social advertising like Facebook and Instagram, is you want to have something in your ad that stands out and gets people's attention. And so you don't want to just limit yourself to your logo as being the focal point of the ad. So if you're doing a video ad, if you're doing even an image, you want to do something that really stands out. Like a few years ago, I would run a lot of ads that were black and white because it would stand out in the news feed when people are scrolling, and it would stop people from scrolling because they're seeing a color post, then they see a black and white post. Unfortunately, now it doesn't work as well because now everyone does that. So it's sort of one of those things where it kind of got burnt out. But you want to just think about how can you still incorporate your brand in a meaningful way, but when it comes to advertising, how can you also create these dynamic elements that stand out? Would you agree with that, Lexi?
Absolutely. And that's why the accent colors can really be that pop of color you need on a button, to get somebody to click that button, to shop now or to hire me. Yeah, you want to make sure that your colors are going to have contrast so that you can use things to really stand out. I agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. I see Philip says, yes, the purple is already in my head for the group after 1 week. Good, it's
Yeah.
working.
That's good.
We have a question from Proactive Therapeutic Massage and Wellness. How do you go about recreating after you've been in business for 8 years without losing seasonal people? So I guess we're talking about refreshing or renewing a brand that's been established for a while. What advice do you have for someone in that situation?
I think it depends on the business, and how well of a reputation they have. Because if you are really well known in your community, for example, and people know you as the business owner, you can certainly get away with doing a major refresh. People will see it, they'll be excited about it, they'll talk about it. Um, so I think refreshes are great. If it's also like depends on your comfort level. If you don't feel comfortable to really kind of reinvent the wheel for yourself and make it better, that's okay because a refresh can also be stemming from what you've already had now and just doing some slight tweaks to it to modernize it. I think a lot of brands get outdated, like a lot of logos can get outdated over
Hmm.
time because things change over time. I mean, if you think about like the Pepsi brand or the Coca-Cola brand, like every 10 years, they're always
Yeah.
tweaking the logo a little bit to look more modern, but like the essence of the logo has always stayed the same. The colors have always stayed the same. So you could think of it like that in terms of your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might tie in with something that I know you and I have talked about, the whole Tropicana brand.
Yeah.
I don't know what we call it, just a mistake, a very
Yes.
costly mistake. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about what we're talking about when it comes to Tropicana?
Yeah. So I think this was back in like 2011, I want to say. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Tropicana orange juice brand, right? And if you think about the package, it has that lovely orange with a straw stuck in it. And I think that that image itself says a lot to somebody. Like, oh, it says, the orange was just picked from the orange tree, and we just stuck a straw in it, and we're just getting the juice right from that orange. So to consumers, that's important because people want to buy orange juice thinking that what they're buying is like the freshest, the absolute freshest and highest quality orange juice. So the fact that they had that on their carton for years, like, to me, I think was brilliant. Like, I think it's a very powerful message. And what happened was they hired one of these big design agencies in New York. And honestly, I can't even remember who it was. So, but it doesn't matter. But they did a complete rebrand, redesign of the packaging. So they removed the orange and the straw altogether, and what they put on the packaging was a glass of orange juice. And it said like 100% orange juice over the glass. And then they took the knob. I actually loved this part. They took the knob of the orange juice container, and the original one just had like the basic orange screw on cap, and they replaced it with like a little orange screw cap. So it looked like a little orange, like a little plastic orange. I thought that was, clever. But between the carton of orange juice that was just white with a glass of orange juice on it, that's it. That's all it was. And then even their advertising for their new rebrand was black and white photos with a glass of orange juice. And it said their new slogan was squeeze, it's a natural. Like, what is that even saying? It doesn't make any sense. Um, so when they launched the new rebrand on the shelves, customers didn't even know like who it was,
Yeah.
even though it said Tropicana. Like, they didn't even know who it was, and they looked at it and associated it with like a really cheap brand. So I heard that the company Tropicana spent $35 million rebranding their packaging, and then they lost sales by 30 million. So they ended up losing over $50 million in that
Wow.
rebrand. And I think they were only on shelf for like a month or a few weeks, and then they quickly got rid of it and put the old stuff back out. And it stayed the same. It's now back to the old packaging, and it's been that way for years.
Yep. Yep. They went back. Yeah.
So,
That's a shame,
yeah,
and
so you have
it
to,
impacted the Treasure Coast as well because I believe it's
yeah.
abandoned. There's like there's a Tropicana plant right up there on Midway and Glades
Oh,
Cutoff.
really?
Yeah, I drive
Oh,
by it all
wow.
the time, and it's just you could still see like the Tropicana
Oh,
logo on the train cars, and it's just stuck there. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. I'm sure some of these other brands like Simply Orange that came out with a whole new package design where you could actually see the orange juice because it was in a
mm,
clear bottle. Because when it comes to consumer packaged goods, that's like a whole nother world. Have you done a
that
lot of
is,
work
yeah.
in that area with
I
packaging and
have.
how brands interact or how to combine packaging with branding?
Yes, I did. That was kind of the bulk of my
Hmm.
career in New York City. That's when I worked there for 5 years right out of college. So I learned like a lot within those 5 years. And yeah, you have to fight really hard on shelf. So the
Hmm.
competition is really intense. So the branding that you're doing and the package design you're doing has to be really, you have to have a lot of strategy behind the choices you're making in the designs.
Yeah.
And a lot of money is involved, and this, yeah, it's just intense. So I was happy to step out of that world, to be honest. It was like the lions, tigers, and bears, and just start helping business owners, locally. And I do work with clients all over the US, But I have so much experience now that it's just, feel like I'm at a sweet spot in my career where I can just help, anybody gain more
Hmm.
exposure, and really get things going for them, whether they're starting out or if they've been around a while. Um, and I think
Yeah.
word of mouth is really popular. I mean, it's really effective
Absolutely. And
in
that's where
growing your business.
networking ties in, and why it's
Hmm.
important to get out there, to go to networking events. Looks like we have a few other questions we're going to get to. I just want to welcome a few folks that joined us. So we have Daryl, we have Yesenia. Yesenia has a cool comment here. You can have another grand opening. So that, yeah, that's really important. If you're refreshing your brand, you could have like a new brand reveal celebration.
Absolutely.
You could have a
Yeah.
grand opening, right? You want to
I
make it an
just did that for
event.
myself.
Yeah, there you go. Right? It
Yeah.
can be like, share it with the world. Don't just subtly update your
Hmm.
logo and be done with it. Make it something that people will remember.
Make
So
it
yeah,
a
welcome.
party. Yeah, make it a party. Like do a ribbon cutting and
Yeah,
do some promotional items. Like get some, stickers made and some tote bags with your new logo on it and some
yeah,
little giveaways and, have a party. It's a great way to celebrate a new chapter in your business. So,
absolutely. Also want to
yeah.
say welcome to Michelle. And oh, we have another question from Christina. Are there colors that you wouldn't use on a card? Are there colors that work best?
That's a great question. I think it really depends on what you're trying to say.
No, I think we might have lost Lexi there for a minute. Let's see what's happening. Um, can everyone still see me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Nick?
Here we go. Yep, I think you're coming back. I think there was a little blip there in the recording, but hey, that's what happens with live streams. So,
Yeah, no worries. Um,
can you hear us? You're good. Awesome.
Perfect.
You're back.
So I think
So
there's
yes.
no right or wrong color. It's just what colors are going to say what you want it to say. So like, for example, like let's say we're using the color blue for a business. You can do a cool blue. So it's really about like the tone. So you can use a cool blue to look more modern and sleek. Or you could use more of like a earthy blue by using blue with some gray mixed into it to have more of a warmer look. And that might be more appropriate for a business that's built on that heritage or wants to have a little bit more of like a vintage look. So not modern. So it really just depends
Yeah.
on what you're trying to do with the colors.
Absolutely. So if there's any other questions, go ahead, put them in the chat. We're going to wrap up pretty soon, but we can take a few more questions. And while we're waiting to see if there are any other questions, Lexi, can you tell us a little bit more about your services? You just rebranded, you have a new website. Tell us how people can work with you.
Yeah. So my new website is Rubin Design Co.com. And I am offering to anyone that's here on the live chat a brand guideline if you want to get everything organized, because I know it can be a real pain if you have your logo files in one file and then your fonts are all over the place and or you're not sure about your colors. I'm putting together a brand guideline, so everything is just on one single PDF that you can use and hand to your printer if you're wanting to do some promotional items or maybe update your business card. And I usually offer that for $285, and I'm offering it tonight for $250 for your brand guidelines, just to help get things more organized and make it easier for you. And then I'm doing the same offer for your business cards. So if you want to just do a quick update on your business card, I can help you just modernize those fonts, maybe recommend taking some things off or putting a QR code on there. Let's keep your logo that you have already on there right now, but just doing a quick little refresh could really make a big difference. And I can also help you in terms of like picking out the right paper stocks and using special finishes on that business card if you're interested in that. So that's also, I'm offering that for 250 as well. Usually it's 285.
Nice. Yeah, and having seen the quality of your work, I know that's a steal of a deal. So I put the URL in the chat. You can click on that, or you can go to rubindesignco.com. You also have a newsletter, right? People can subscribe if they want to get more information.
Yep, I have a newsletter, so you can just put your email into that subscribe button down there at the bottom of the website. Or you can email me at Lexy, that's Lexy, at rubindesignco.com. And I'd be happy to talk to you about whatever it is that you want to do in terms of updating your branding. Because, when you're out there meeting people, you really want to have that strong first impression follow-up piece, that physical piece, whether it's a business card or your website or just simply updating your logo. It really makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think starting with a business card refresh is in my opinion a really easy, low cost way to just start the process, because it can seem overwhelming. It's like we got to do our logo, we got to do our colors and our style guide and our website, and where do you start? Yeah, if you start with a business card, that's the first thing that people are going to see physically, other than, because you represent your brand as well when you're in front of people. But the business card is that thing that you leave behind. And so just making sure that you have a business card that's legible, it has the right information on it, and it represents what you want it to represent. That can get you an extra 1 or 2 clients or customers a month, right? And wouldn't it be worth it to invest in that? So I definitely encourage everyone to take Lexy up on that offer and go to rubindesignco.com. Looks like we have a question from Daryl. Isn't there a saying that certain colors like portray to the eyes and make consumers want to get it more or make it pop more? Sorry if I worded it wrong. I know in one of my business classes they always said certain colors pop. And okay, I see what you're getting at. Sorry. I'm like reading it and processing it at the same time. So Daryl, you're asking about color psychology, and are there certain colors that invoke a certain response from people? Lexy, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think certain colors definitely have a certain, can make you think or feel something. I know they say like red, the color red can be associated with food, and that's why there's a lot of restaurants that like to use like the red, or they used to use the red and white checkered tablecloths, because it makes you like think of hunger. And I think blue right now is really popular in terms of branding, I would say. And it just depends on the business. And I think looking modern is definitely a way to go, unless you have that history that you want to portray in your business. So I think blues are really nice, grays are really nice. You can also like go to Home Depot or Lowe's and just go down the paint aisle, and they have just a great array of colors. And you can just look there too and just see what colors kind of gravitate towards you and like what you personally like. Because at the end of the day, you have to own your brand. And I always want to make sure my clients own their brand with confidence. And that needs to show through. So you want to pick something that's going to be comfortable for you and that is going to resonate with your customers. And if you're not sure, I'm happy to talk about that. Like it really just depends on the business, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Yeah, you don't want to overlook any of this stuff, from the colors to the typography to the iconography to how everything fits together to your slogan. You want to be very intentional when you're putting all these assets together, and you want to work with a professional. So well said. We will wrap up with some quick announcements, because we have a lot going on with the Port St. Lucie Business Club. And then, Lexy, I'll give you the final word so you can share a final tip or a final announcement. But some quick announcements with the Business Club. So we have our big 1-year anniversary networking event coming up next week on June 25th at 6 p.m. Hopefully you've all heard about it by now, because Danny and I have been blasting it everywhere we can. But that's going to be a huge celebration and networking event at ACC Event Hall in Port St. Lucie. You can get all the information by going into our Facebook group. It's pinned at the top. It's also on all our social all the social links. I put the link in the chat. But we want you there, because it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be Bonner Mobile Bar. We're going to have Caribbean food. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have awards. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be the best networking event we've done so far. That's on Tuesday, June 25th at 6 p.m. Another quick announcement is that we are participating in a 5K that's in September, that's put on by the Treasure Coast Food Bank. We're trying to get the largest team possible out there running with or walking with us. So if you want to join, you can go to Port St. Lucie Business. You can go to pslbusinessclub.com/5K. It all goes to a good cause. Every dollar that you donate to the Treasure Coast Food Bank can feed 8 people. So we really want to make this the year where we're really helping in the community. And this is our first big initiative to do that. So please join our team and walk with us. You don't have to be a runner. You can go to pslbusinessclub.com/5K. And of course, make sure you're in our Facebook group, because that's where you'll get all of these announcements, including these live streams where we do these every single month. So if you ever want to have a specific topic covered, let us know. So with that, I want to thank everyone. And Lexy, the last word is yours. Let us know any final tip or anything you want to share with our viewers before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot of content on social media, and I'm talking a lot to younger graphic designers and how they can grow in their career. And so I think all that content is also going to be really helpful to any business owner, because I'm going to be talking about how to improve on your skills, and it's going to be all about branding. So if you want to follow me I'm on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram at Rubin Design. And the links are there on my website. That could be another way to just keep learning about branding and how branding can really help your business. And again, I'm also available to help anyone. If they have any questions, they can call or email me. I'm here to just really help any business owner succeed and gain more exposure and get more of those clients. And branding is a really, really powerful way to do that. So
Awesome.
thank you so much, Nick, for having me today.
Thank you. You've shared so much useful information. I hope everyone follows you on Instagram and Facebook and checks out the website. And I'm sure we'll cover some more questions in the future. So thank you, Lexy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we will chat with you all soon. Take care.